It has been a very sad week for the asymmetrical gaming community because we've had the announcement of two major asymmetrical horror games closing down, shutting their doors for good before the end of 2023. On Thursday, we got the announcement that Friday the 13th would be the first to go. Apparently, they have lost their license. Now, this is sad. It may not be a surprise for many because, Friday the 13th has kind of become a meme at this point with its not great servers, but there is a couple of silver linings off the back of this, as sad as it is. Number one, it means that Gun Interactive, the people behind this game, and the studio also behind the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, can now fully put their attention into TCM, into making sure that that game is as good as it can be and it doesn't suffer from the same fate as this one. And the second silver lining is that the license is now up for grabs, and there have been rumors of a brand new Friday the 13th game coming out in the future, whether this is an asymmetrical horror game or like a single player horror experience. Me personally, I hope that one. That's yet to be known. So that was Thursday, and then yesterday on Friday, we saw the announcement from Hellbent Games that VHS, now known as the Video Horror Society, is also going to be ending. After two betas and nearly a year in early access, we have made the very difficult decision to sunset Video Horror Society. Now, you can kind of get an idea of how crazy this project was from the start, just from the fact that it says two betas and nearly a year in early access. This game didn't even fully release. They go on to say what they're going to be doing with the next few months, transitioning to peer-to-peer matchmaking, ending live services, so that on September the 8th, they will be removing it from Steam and Epic and shutting down the game completely. So the good news is that if you are a fan of this game, and Friday the 13th to be fair, you do still have a few months to get some games in, and we'll probably see a boost in the player base on both of these games, to be honest, over that period, which is kind of ironic considering you have to say a game is dead for people to come back and try and revive it. Now, if you're one of the people who is wondering, why has VHS decided to close its doors? Well, they do actually cite a reason themselves as to why this is the case. They say, unfortunately, we have not found the commercial success that we need to cover costs to keep the game running. Essentially, the game was not earning enough money. It's not surprising considering that the game didn't have a massive player base towards the end and you didn't even have to buy the game in order to play it. But it's not telling the full story. Of course, Hellbent aren't going to talk about all of the fuck-ups they've done along the way, but people on Twitter definitely will. For example, you had this one person, they withheld beta behind keys, which was a big thing at the start of the VHS launch. You had to get a key to the beta in order to access it, and it felt quite exclusive. They delayed early access. Skill gap between players who played beta and those who didn't. That was huge, to be fair. Like, so many people have talked about the fact that if you didn't play the beta from the start and you were part of like the second wave that came out like a month later, you would absolutely be slapped about by the people who've been playing for longer, because there was no real matchmaking in it. It was literally just kind of you get paired with who you get paired with, and that was an issue. Focusing more on balancing than consistent content. I don't know if I'd agree with this one. I feel like the balancing was one of the major issues of the game. For example, playing as Monster was so fucking difficult. You just get slapped around and bullied by the teens endlessly, and the game would be over in 2 seconds. Content taking too long, barely any advertising, and more focus on cosmetics. Now, I think the general consensus across the board is that this one is one of the biggest issues and the biggest reasons as to why VHS failed. And this person here says, did they ever really advertise this game? Like, if it wasn't for Dead by Daylight streamers, I would never have known this game existed. And that's a good point. Think to yourself, did you ever actually see any advertisements for Video Horror Society? Did you ever actually see any marketing aside from big streamers from the DVD community and elsewhere playing the game and promoting it that way? I didn't. I never saw a single bit of marketing for this game. And it got to the point where when they released the new monster, The Anomaly, I was shocked, because the way that I found out about that was through people who played the game posting about how much they liked The Anomaly. The advertising and marketing was definitely, in my opinion anyway, and I think in a lot of people's opinions, the biggest downfall of this game. You can also quote the fact that they stole content. That was a pretty big L on their part. But if you want like a pretty decent breakdown of VHS and where it came from and how it basically failed on its launch, you can check out this Dowsey video, The Rapid Downfall of DVD's Rival, Video Horror Society. He does literally a PowerPoint presentation about why this game failed. I think he took maybe a little bit too much joy in that, but Hey ho, the information's there. So I'd recommend this if you want some detailed information on all of that. I can tell you one thing that didn't cause the downfall of VHS though, because I'm seeing this narrative floating around a lot, and that was the Dead by Daylight community. Now, we saw this when the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game ended its tech test and people were giving their opinions and everybody was freaking out because the DBD community is ruining Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I think in this instance with VHS, it definitely 100% wasn't the result of the DBD community or DBD streamers. This is 100% solely on Hellbent themselves, a lack of marketing, a lack of direction, a lack of content, you know, telling people that content was coming out. All of that stuff is why this game ultimately failed. And I think trying to blame it on the Dead by Daylight community just robs the chance of Hellbent and any other game studio of learning from the mistakes that VHS made, of actually being able to take forward any ideas of how to make their next projects better or any new projects better, and instead just blaming a community and giving people a kind of scapegoat to completely disregard any fuck-ups that they had made along the way. It is a real shame that this game has ended, because I remember when I first played it, I had a blast, I loved it, and I remember when the betas launched, you had Dead by Daylight streamers and players and just, you know, gamers from everywhere flocking and moaning online about how they weren't getting keys and about how all they wanted for Christmas was a key and all this stuff. And it was a lot of fun. And it was a really promising game when it first launched. And even now, I still think that the design of the game, you know, all of the way that they presented like 80s horror movies and all of that kind of stuff was phenomenal. It had real potential. And it is really sad to see any game in the asymmetrical genre, but especially a game like this that could have been something really great, eventually have to close its doors. So what's next for the Video Horror Society and Hellbent Studios? Well, they do say in their tweet that they are ending VHS in order to focus on other projects, as they say, around here. Now, what those other projects are, I have no idea. We have no idea. They said they can't talk about it yet. I really hope that they learn from the fuck-ups and the mistakes from this game. You know, the lack of advertising was a huge thing. I hope they really put money into that and put effort into that. And I hope that the next projects they come out with are better for this experience. I really do. For any current players of the game who want to still get some games in, go for it. Play while you can. You've still got a few months. And if you are going to be missing this game when it eventually ends, then try and get as much time out of it as possible. I think that's the best thing you can do. Overall, this news has had really mixed reception online. A lot of people have been really sad about this. A lot of people, you know, would based their entire content off VHS, and a lot of people were rewinders, which is essentially the VHS version of Fog Whisperers. You know, they were very closely affiliated with the game and have expressed a lot of pure sadness and regret over the fact that this game will be ending. But there have been some people who have been very strangely overjoyed by this and have celebrated this game ending as if it has any personal effect on them in any way. Listen, I'm not going to tell you that you should be sad or you shouldn't be sad that this game has ended. If you are sad, be sad. If you want to be sad about the game, express that sadness, let yourself mourn. But if you're not sad, don't be a cunt. All right? Like, don't go online and brag about this as if it's some major win for you. Like, just let people have their moment to be sad about the game and to mourn the game how they want to. And, you know, be considerate of the fact that people have put passion into something and now it's gone. Not just players, but the developers as well. You know, just be a bit compassionate. Be a bit nice. You don't have to be like, way, it said it was going to kill DBD and it didn't. You don't have to do that, okay? No one cares about you celebrating over something that has nothing to do with you, so calm yourself down. But yeah, I just wanted to give an overview of what's happened here, of what VHS have said, and, you know, a possible indication of what the future will be. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. Are you somebody who really loved VHS and you're really sad to see it go? Or are you one of the people who are celebrating online and throwing parties? Either way, let me know in the comments. I love to hear from you guys. And thank you so much for watching. I always appreciate it. And if you did like the video, leave a like. It really helps me out. And subscribe to the channel for more gaming news and content. Go out there and be the best Time Chronics that you can be. Have a fantastic weekend or week whenever you're watching this. And I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.
So let me break it all down for you. I ain't never giving up, I ain't never giving up. I'm taking that crown from you.